So I wanted to create this video after having dinner with one of my private investors or friends, really good family friends who has a very demanding full-time job. Has already been an investor in one of, actually was the investor on the first flip. He actually asked me an interesting question. He said, "You know what? I got no time. I like what you're doing here. What would uh, what would it look like if I wanted to buy one of your investments?" Meaning that he wanted to have the property as his long-term rental and all of that after I repaired at least and fix it up. I thought that was an interesting idea, right? This whole challenge of mine is to go find distressed assets that have problems, repair them to a good if not great position, and then fill them up, right, and then sell them off. So I thought that was interesting. We talked about it, and I said I'd go home and create a Proforma for one of my investments, and we would go through it and see if that made sense for both of us. And that's what I'm going to do here. So we're gonna look at what and sort of why this might be an interesting idea for some folks to consider. Certainly is for him, but I wanted to go through this and look at it in detail. Then we're going to actually look at a Proforma. We're going to discuss the assumptions in each and every variable, talk about what would make it go up or down, and just see if this is something that would make sense for him. And then we're going to sort of talk about what I'm seeing as my goals now that I've been in this for a while, making well over 100 offers, and now have 4 flips in contract. So we'll talk about what I'm really trying to do here. So real estate market, I've said many times, is certainly a seller's market. It's extremely tight, if you will. Not a lot of inventory out there, and deals are even farther and further between. And there's lots of competition, and I think competition only increases over the next year or so. If you're really, have a demanding full-time job and you're making a, decent living, and you have the cash, but you just don't have time no matter what you do, that's interesting. And, maybe there's a way in certain situations that, someone like myself who has the experience and now plenty of time could partner up with, a few folks. So I thought it was interesting. The investor out there doesn't need to chase problem properties, doesn't need to make 100 offers, doesn't have the time to go research, want to deal with headaches of evictions, and they want as painless a process as possible, right? They're willing to pay, certainly market for low risk and quote unquote no problems, at least no early problems. They would like a product that's already ready to go, right? It's fully rented or leased. It's at market, right? They don't need to kick tenants out. They don't need to go through rent increases. They don't need to go through a turn. They don't need any of those headaches. They also want a property that's been repaired very recently, if not last month, and that's going to reduce any first year expenses and make sure that as long as the tenant stays and is paying, that at least the first year should be reduced. They also want property management in place, right? Time is time is an issue. They don't want to go research. They don't want to go meet new people. They don't want to do any of that stuff. So again, the goal is to save time. They want a solid product, and they want that product performing when they take it over. They don't want any extra work or what they may consider risk. So that's what we took away from dinner. I said, that's interesting. Let's go create a Proforma for a property that this individual may like to purchase. So here it is in detail. Everything here we'll talk about in detail. So what we talked about is potentially a transaction value on an investment. It's actually flip number 4 of $215,000. Now that's the price that I would let that go for. Giving him some discounts and whatnot for reduced selling costs and all of that, right? So no reason I have to pay 5% if I can go find the buyer. So we split the difference. So I had some savings and he had some savings, and there's other things in there. So again, it's not the 230 or 250 that you'll see in the flip number 4 video, but that's because selling it to someone in the network, reducing selling costs and the like, allows me to maintain the margin I wanted and not be greedy. I'm going to ask him to put down 75 grand. He's going to go get a bank loan for investment loan. I want to make sure he could certainly qualify for less of a down payment, but that's not what we're about here. We don't need to create alligators, if you remember one of the early videos, so I'm going to ask him to put $75K down. The rent I used, and now this is an assumption, right, was $925 for one and $825 for another. Again, what we would do is we would wait till they're actually leased before we do the deal. So there's a chance it goes somewhere between $50 and $100 higher and potentially $50 lower. So I picked somewhere in the middle. I couldn't imagine them going for less than 900 or 800, but they certainly could go for 975 and 875. So I picked a number in the middle. Then we just did straight up payments. So a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 4.8% produces a payment of $735 on a 150K loan, or 140K loan, excuse me. So that's that's the payment. I'm estimating insurance at $133 a month. How I got that is I'm guesstimating here that this is actually a 2-house combo, so $800 a year per house. That's hence the times 2, and then I divide it by 12 to get me a monthly cost. So again, it's an estimate. Could be a little higher, could be a little lower. It's my best guess. Then property taxes. Again, this is my best guess. I'm guessing $1,000 per house, hence 2,000, and then just divide by 12 to get that. So I call this the fixed expenses, right? This mortgage payment, insurance, taxes, just over $1,000. And then I estimated a monthly running expense of $400, which is your property management, your repairs, and extras. Ideally building reserves, because you're hopefully not having $400 a month every month expenses on houses, right? Because the tenant's going to pay for water, electricity, garbage, all that stuff. But again, we wanted to be conservative. So total expenses of $1,435 leaves a cash flow of $315. Produces a total cash flow for the year of just under $3,800, right? That's 315 times 12, and you can see I've rounded up to the nearest dollar, hence the math doesn't work out exactly. And then the yield is actually just over 5%. And the yield, again, is 3786 divided by 75K, which is his out of pocket because he doesn't have any repair costs or anything at that point. So again, that's, I think that's a solid transaction, especially for someone who has no time. And the fact that the property is already leased and ready to go. So, knock on wood, the first year should be pretty solid. And then again, sort of stepping back, looking about what I'm doing and why this might be a good partnership. I am certainly chasing problem properties that I can fix and address in a sort of 3 to 4 month window. This flip number 4 is they're solid houses. There'll probably always be rentals, but they're rented below market. Right, they're rented for $600 and $650. They've been owned by the same family for well over 30 years, and they don't want to raise rents. So I will take it over, and it may sound cold-hearted, but I certainly don't mean it. I'm going to give them a 60-day notice to vacate because that's the right thing to do, and then I'm going to go in and clean up, and because they've been lived in and for a long time, I'm going to go, put in different, go put in flooring that's easy to maintain and lasts a long time, and going to go redo or clean up the bathrooms and kitchens and just bring it to a higher standard, and then of course in this case going to raise the rents to $900 or $800 or thereabouts. So again, I think the property is being underappreciated by the current owner, and I'm going to fix that. I don't want to compete in the owner-occupant market. That's something that's become clear. If properties are sort of the standard 3-2 2-car garage, quarter-acre lot, there's so much competition now, and some of it coming with owner financing with nearly nothing down, others from investors outside looking to create flips for the FHA market. It's frankly no fun. And so I'm going to go find properties off on the side that don't really fit the owner-occupant market, that are solid rentals, like the 4 deals we've put together so far. I want to repair all of them, which typically means people are going to have to vacate. Unless they're at market rent. Now, flip number 1, one of the units is at or near market, so I can just go in and increase that with Section 8. So she will likely not have to vacate. But the others will likely need to vacate because they're, in some cases 50% below market, and not many people can absorb that kind of rent increase. So, they've been under market for a long time. So the other things I'm going to do is repair them and make sure they're running to a standard that reduces expenses in the future. For example, one of the things I'll do is I won't be putting carpet in living rooms and hallways and things like that. I'll put in some of this generic hardwood, sort of looks like hardwood. I think it's actually laminate flooring, which will um, reduce future expenses, right? It's going to last a lot longer than carpet, and you're not going to clean it and all these other things that I would do for my properties. Also going to make sure that their properties are at least in performing at market rents. I'm not gonna buy one that says, hey, here's a 3-bedroom house that could rent for $950, but congratulations, here's a tenant renting for $625, and it's your responsibility to raise the rents. That's not something that somebody with no time and on their side wants to do. So I see it as my responsibility to put that in place and make sure that it's rented at market. And again, I'm going to sell it full and leased. You won't be getting vacant properties. When I sort of follow this model, I think it's interesting for folks. So in the end, I just wanted to share this Proforma with all of you. I thought it was an interesting question from dinner last night. Do me a favor, make sure you like the video. If you have any questions about what I'm doing or the Proforma, just ask. And always do me a favor, if you like this video, please share it on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever you'd like. All right, have a great day.